One of the most popular videos I ever made was this one about mana rocks. I liked how it turned out, but there's one thing in the video that sort of led to a lot of comments that were not about the topic at hand. So this video is about mana rocks that tap for 1 mana and how they might not always be good for your deck, which means Sol Ring is not included in that conversation. And I knew a lot of people would click on my decks and view them after watching this, but I don't run Sol Ring in any of my casual decks right now. So I assumed that would cause some confusion, and I decided to have a little section there where I talked about how I don't play Sol Ring. But then I got a lot of comments about the whole Sol Ring thing. It didn't really solve the derailing of the comments issue. So that's what this video is about. I want to talk about certain high power cards that I've cut from various decks and why you might want to try the same thing. But first I want to tell you about Card Castle. This is how I sort my collection. Recently Jojo and I scanned some cards together. Okay, buddy, here's the phone. I need you to open up the app, and I need you to scan these cards for me, okay? Can you help me with these? What's up? You haven't even picked up the phone. Okay, I know you're trying your best, buddy. That's okay. That's okay. You can look, you can scan these. Which helped me reorganize my cards into multiple binders. Then on Card Castle, I can tag my cards by what binder they're in, so I know what's in each binder. This helps me when deck building, so I don't buy duplicates of cards I already own. Also, I save time because I know where my cards are. No more flipping around through binders. If you want to get in on this, click the link below to make your account and scan 1,000 cards for free. Also, if you want to scan your cards faster, check out CardBot, their card sorting robot. Your local game store might have one that you can use. If you want to check, use the link below to see that as well. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the channel. When I talk about strong cards, I mean two things. Generically powerful support cards for your deck. This is your removal, your card draw. Stuff like this generally works on its own without any synergy by itself. So Mana Drain, for example. Mana Drain is always a counterspell, always does its thing, it is always good. You don't need any synergy for this card to work. Same with Damnation or Sylvan Library, stuff like this. There are synergies that you could utilize to make them even better in your list, but generally speaking, there are certain strong cards that are strong by themselves without any help from any other card. And there are best-in-class synergy cards. So if you're a deck that wants to go wide and then attack with your wide board, the best card for that is Craterhoof Behemoth, probably. Depends on your list, of course. If you're in green, it is likely Craterhoof is the strongest go wide option you got. Or if you're in an artifact deck and you want to produce mana, then Urza is probably the best card to produce mana and let you cast all of your big artifacts. The strength of these best-in-class cards usually comes from the low barrier to entry they have. Craterhoof does not care about a card type, it does not care about the attack or mana value of anything. It just cares about number of dudes on the board, which is a very low bar to clear in green. Urza just cares about artifacts in play. They don't have to be tokens, they don't have to be non-tokens, just artifacts of any kind, which is a very low bar to clear. So when I talk about strong cards, these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Now, of course, there are cards that are quite powerful, but maybe require some higher degree of synergy. And, whether or not you would consider that one of these for your list is kind of up to you, and it depends on your deck. But generally speaking, these are the kinds of things I'm talking about when I mean generically powerful cards. The problem I have with these effects is they can often trivialize any deck building goal or challenge that you might have. I first noticed this with Rhystic Study. What's kind of funny is I was writing the script like a while ago, and then Rhystic Study kind of became a hot topic again after Gavin mentioned it. Total coincidence. I didn't actually mean for that to happen. Anyway, I play a lot of control decks. In a control deck, you often win by using early game interaction to slow down your opponents, hit their value pieces, and then you use your card draw to outvalue your opponents over the course of the game. And this often requires building a lot of card draw engines or synergies and removal engines into my deck. I would spend all this time working on my deck's game plan. But in games where I drew Rhystic Study, all of that was completely meaningless. Rhystic Study either draws me a comical number of cards because somebody decided to give me a free win by never paying for it, or it became a one sided tax effect that immensely slowed down all of my opponents. In either case, all the other cards in my deck, the value engines, removal engines, really just didn't matter as much because this singular card did everything that the control deck wanted. Tons of card draw or huge tax effect to slow down your opponents. It often became 3 mana win the game, especially against new players who just didn't know to pay the 1. But if I wanted to obliterate new players for 3 mana, I could just play Oracle combo and speed up the pub stomping. So because of that, I cut Rhystic Study from all of my decks. It trivialized all the value engines that I put in there. Soul Ring is another example. Many times a deck might have a certain power play it can make when you untap with a specific card, or maybe when you hit a certain mana and you can play your powerful thing or double spell. That's when your deck really, turns it up a notch and moves into a winning position. Soul Ring is a card that can let you move into that game-winning position much faster. There are games where you can Soul Ring into a 4-mana card and just run away with the game before the rest of the table can even mount a defense. But if I wanted to cast a value engine and run away with the game in an overwhelming way, I would just play CDH rather than Casual Commander, where the goal is usually to allow all players to do something. Powerful synergy cards also do something similar. If your deck's game plan is to play your funny fungus cards and make Sapperlings, adding a Craterhoof means all of your other Sapperling synergies that you had are now not as useful. Like if you were playing Slimefoot and initially had been incrementally sacrificing and looping Sapperlings for small chunks of damage here and there, all of a sudden that becomes meaningless. Since Craterhoof is massively an overkill spell, you draining your opponents for 10 life was completely unnecessary. Staples can also homogenize the game in some way. If we all put Approach of the Second Sun as our win con in blue-white control lists, then those lists would just be that much more similar. Now, the first half of this video might have sounded familiar if you watched Alex's video on the same topic. It's really good. He uses a great deck of his as an example to show off this exact problem. I'll link Alex's video below. Now, he leaves off his video with a simple cut those cards, which is good advice, genuinely. Cutting cards that strip away the fun of your deck is not something enough people talk about. But I wanted to provide some different ideas and suggestions to deal with this same problem. A lot of times people point to the strong cards in their deck and they say, well, I need this to keep up, which can sometimes feel very true. If everyone is playing powerful cards, don't you have to do the same? This is where the power of synergy comes in. An individually high power card is just that, individual. It can lead to power plays and big swings, but sometimes a well-timed removal spell can completely stop one of these cards in their tracks. Synergy cards, though, don't usually operate like this, because they're often part of a larger engine, and then those individual parts can be replaced. Here's an example. Tortured Existence, Squee, and a Channel card. I can channel my Sky Turtle to bounce something, Tortured Existence to ditch Squee, get the turtle back, and then Squee returns itself to hand, letting me loop the channel effect. But any of these cards can be replaced. Genesis or Oversold Cemetery can return the cycling card to hand or channel card. The channel or cycling card can be swapped out with other value pieces. So if I lose access to one part of the engine, I can easily replace it and keep it going. And when you compare this to a value engine, like Smothering Tithe, it's a lot more efficient and easy for your opponents to stop. Yes, Tithe is more compact as a value engine, but that's the reason it's more susceptible to removal. When you rely on individually powerful cards to make your deck function, when those go away, the rest of your deck has a lack of synergy and value and can sometimes struggle. This leads me to talk about consistency. One thing that individually strong cards do is they massively mess with the consistency of your deck's power level. Having one in play will spike the strength of your deck by a lot. Your deck might normally kinda suck, but then you cast Necropotence and suddenly you have all the gas in the world. Or your list is usually unable to go from nothing to winning, but sometimes you can use Soul Ring into a Bolas's Citadel and just win on turn 4. Personally, I am not a big fan of this inconsistency. If I'm trying to tell someone that my deck can win on turn X or is bracket 2, Adding just a Soul Ring means that turn which I win can be faster by 2 turns. And then in the Rule Zero talk, what I mentioned my deck does can feel a little disingenuous if I win significantly faster than that. Cards like this can also sort of trick newer players into thinking their deck is better constructed than it really is. I've made lots of artifact piles that were not good decks. Yet when I landed Urza, suddenly they all operated so much better. Which, yeah, makes sense. This card massively augments the strength of my deck. Any game where I draw it, the deck will work way better. And other times, the deck would just struggle. Another issue is a lot of these powerful cards often put a big kick me sign on your forehead, and then you get smashed. When you play a Necropotence in a lower power deck, and then pay 10, 20 life to draw into all your fun cards, many people might feel threatened and simply attack you as a response to that. I find this to be a common occurrence. Someone casts a super powerful card and then complains when they get targeted by the table. I'm not saying you should use strong value engines or synergy pieces instead of these powerful cards to lie or trick people into undervaluing the power of your deck, but rather the opposite. Individual high power cards can overstate and oversell the power of your list and convince players that you're a threat when in reality you might not be as threatening as someone else. In casual EDH, oftentimes the goal of your deck is to be a medium-powered version of a strategy, ideally with 3 other decks that are at about the same power. And individually high-power cards can really disrupt that. Your deck could be a reasonably good mid-power spellslinger list, but sometimes it becomes much faster and much stronger and draws way more cards and completely stomps the table. This makes Rule Zero power level discussions a bit more difficult, since your deck is sometimes really strong, but on average, not really strong. It can also completely trivialize your deck, where one card can centralize what your deck is doing, and then you'll win off the back of that, and all your other deck building efforts were kind of meaningless because this one card just won you the game by itself. Additionally, playing synergy over individually powerful cards makes your deck a little more resilient against spot removal, which can often feel good. It feels bad when you play your big powerful card and it gets blown up. Your opponents kind of have no choice. This was going to win you the game. They have to remove it, right? Now, you might have seen this video and thought 2 things. 1, but aren't there lots of reasons to actually play strong cards? And 2, is Trinket a hypocrite because he plays lots of best-in-class cards and individually powerful cards in his decks? Well, I agree with the first part. I think there are plenty of reasons to play individually strong cards, and I think that is a whole interesting different discussion. So I decided to split it up into 2 videos. So if you listened to this and said, oh, but I love my high-powered strong cards, you're not giving those a chance, don't worry, I will be talking about that in next week's video. So subscribe, stick around, check it out. Hopefully, maybe you'll enjoy that. And then with these 2 videos, hopefully you'll rethink some things about your decks. Anyway, thanks for watching. Also, maybe consider checking out the Patreon if you want to get some deck reviews, Discord access, and more, like being in the credits, like my tier 3 patrons here.